Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Hello to Nance Joe, Carla Bergeron, Sandra Chapman, Kent Valley, Skyby50, Serendipity. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you. So this is going to be the final part of our Suzanne Morphew, catch-up series. And where we left off last week, which was our part 3, was on the affidavit, the arrest affidavit of Barry Morphew. So to give you a little bit of a summary. So Barry had done he had been there for the preliminary hearing. The judge then bound it over for trial. And come September, which I believe was just the very next month after the preliminary hearing, they ended up actually releasing Barry. So on a $500,000 bond, actually. So his daughter paid the bond, and then, and then Barry was actually released. So on that very day, when he was released, which I think was on a Monday, if I'm not mistaken, all of a sudden, this 131-page arrest affidavit of Barry Lee Morphew was released. And of course, for people like me and my friend Naomi and AK and all these other people that have been following the case for a long time, it was like Christmas morning to get to actually read all the crazy stuff that had happened throughout the whole investigation. We, as a group today, are going to go over, for me, it's my part 4, because remember, I did an audible, like a read through of the arrest affidavit. And so if you decide that you want to carry on after today and keep listening to these videos that I've done of, me reading the affidavit, you would click after part 4. So we're going to start we're going to start part 4 today. And then after that, we'll be done with the arrest affidavit. I encourage you, though, to continue on listening, since I have it in my playlist on my YouTube page. It's super interesting. And then we'll carry on with the story here. Okay, so let's start with, it's my part 4 of the arrest affidavit, and see what other shenanigans they're figuring out in the investigation at this point.
The middle of page 29. So let's begin. Pen recording of argument with Barry. Sergeant Sulian and FBI agents Stephanie Benitez and Kenneth Harris listened to the recordings on the spy pen and collaborated with RMR CFL to attempt to mitigate the background noises that interfered with the audio. The following relevant portions were recovered. In March 2020, Suzanne told Barry the following. "This is all I hear every day. This is all I hear every day. What? I'm not. What I should think. Undecipherable. I am not listening to that anymore. Listen to me, Barry," interrupting. Listen to me. I have lived for years being told how I should feel, how I should act, how I should look, what I should drink, what I shouldn't drink, what I should put in my body, what I shouldn't put in my body. Undecipherable. I fell into this. This is not undecipherable. Controlling. More time.
You know what? In case I have new people in the chat, I want to also explain that right here, we assume, so in this fight they're having, which I think was probably March of 2020, about 2 months before she vanished. Let's see, I don't believe Barry knew that she was carrying on an affair at this point. Some people do think so. I don't altogether think so. I honestly think that this murder was more money motivated than even the affair. I'm not positive that Barry even figured it out until like maybe that Friday or even Saturday. Now, the ones who have really looked deeply into this case, they might have a differing opinion. That's my personal take. Anyway, so what you're hearing is a fight that the spy pen recorded of Barry and Suzanne fighting, which I think is extremely telling as we go through this.
Talking. It's not okay, front and back. Later in the conversation, Suzanne and Barry were arguing. You want me to just... No, I'm just asking you to blindly go into this? You don't have to blindly do anything. I'll make plenty of money this year to pay you back. I don't want to talk about it since you yelled at me the other day. Okay, I will make plenty of money this year, this summer, to pay you back, probably within a month. This is something that I told you that was important, and you decided to go against my wishes. Suzanne later stated, "It's all about the money." Then she added, 80% of our arguments are because of money. She added, "It's money. It's about money." At 1 hour, 17 minutes, Barry stated, "If you want your money, I'm going to pay you back. I'm going to make plenty of money."
Real quick, recently I went over my conversation with Andy Mormon, which is Suzanne Morphew's brother. And it was a conversation that he and I had back in August of 2020. So it's shortly after he came out to talk about, Suzanne and what he knew. He and I had probably, 30 or 40-minute conversation. But in that phone call, he told me that Barry Morphew had actually borrowed $600,000 from a friend. He also borrowed money from Suzanne's father, Gene, who subsequently passed away. I think it was in November of 2020. But according to Gene, according to Andy, Barry did pay back that money. But I'm telling you, I think they were in debt up to their eyeballs, and it was Barry's doing, which you'll probably hear in this part too, because he was trading, I think, ETFs, like gold and silver ETFs. He had a Monex account. He was doing a lot of things behind her back that she didn't know about. And I believe he was using her money to fund them. It was very rotten. So here the fight is, I promised I'm going to pay you back, and her saying, it's always about the money. So again, I say, this was more, in my opinion, more of a money motivated murder than I think even a fair. And I really hope the prosecution next time uses that as their firepower to prove the point that he had a motivation to unalive her. I hate to say that word, but he did. He didn't have the money. He didn't have the money. And if she was going to leave him, she wanted her money. And in the state of Colorado, from what I understand, it's not a community property state. So because she had inheritance, that money would have been hers and hers alone. He wouldn't have gotten a piece of that pie had they divorced. So it's always about the money. Anyway, we'll carry on.
And I told you it was important. You decided to go against my will and my wishes, Suzanne responded with words to the effect of, not against it. You brought it up and we talked about it. Suzanne's conversation with Jeff. Special Agent Harris provided the following synopsis on Suzanne's recordings with Jeff that occurred during her February 2020 trip to Florida. Jeff is driving north on I-75 during their conversation. Jeff talks about a potential job and says he can't take it. Suzanne asks why and mentions the weather in Michigan in February. Interstate 75 does travel north and south through Michigan. Jeff and Suzanne appear to be talking possibly about trying to meet up around Valentine's Day. Suzanne seems to reference being sure that Barry would be at home at the time and would not show up. There is a reference in the Suzanne and Jeff conversation to Tuesday the 11th and Valentine's Day, as if they are still coming up and possibly talking about or making plans for those dates. February 11th, 2020 was a Tuesday. At 21:08, which would be, 9:08 p.m., Suzanne takes a call on speakerphone. She stated, "Hi, sweetie, I'm good. How about you?" Suzanne and the male, presumably Jeff, discuss her trip to Florida. She later stated that Barry was flying to Florida and she thought, it's just weird stuff, this whole Valentine's Day thing. Inaudible. But I was kind of happy to hear that because maybe we're in the clear. Jeff replied, "Well, like I said, I don't want it to be a stressful thing. I just don't." Suzanne stated, "Jeff, come on. I'm the one who started the whole ball rolling," she added. "I mean, there's a lot that went on last week that I haven't told you about, and not good stuff. So I really think he feels bad about that too. You're not a homewrecker. You are my lover, my sweet friend, and the man I love dearly. Okay?" Jeff stated, "I won't. I just want you to be happy. That's all." Suzanne replied, "I'm looking at the man who makes me happy." Okay, so now we're going to go into the tranquilizer. This is the bottom part of page 30. On May 19th,
I want to make it known that, and I don't want to jump ahead too much, but you'll hear a lot about the tranquilizers. So if you're new, a lot comes with the tranquilizers, especially once Suzanne is actually found, the autopsy is conducted, anyway, not to skip ahead, but make sure you pay attention to the tranquilizers because it really matters.
2020, CCSO Deputy Scott Himshoot was present during the search at 19057 Puma Path in the laundry room and was asked to collect a new DART box, PNEU dash DART, D-A-R-T, box, empty. One plastic hypodermic cover, one new DART book from safe in the garage, one DART from box under bench in garage, among other items. The plastic cover was located by evidence search teams in the dryer inside of the sheets belonging to Blank's bed. That would be Mallory's bed. These items were sent to the CBI laboratory for testing. County Road 105 search. On May 22nd, 2020, at approximately 9:05 a.m., pursuant to the issuance of a search warrant, search teams, along with canines and canine handlers, which are Bloodhound Man Tracker's Necro Search, searched the property at 6962 County Road 105, a site where Barry had been conducting earth work since April 2020. A local resident had reported heavy machinery being used late at night on Saturday, May 9th, 2020. During the search, 3 canines were ran blindly and individually across the property. Necro Search and the FBI Evidence Response Team work with CCSO and CBI to remove portions of the poured concrete slab and search through the new construction. On May 23, 2020, a second excavation was conducted at the property in attempts to find the remains of Suzanne. Results were negative. It was where CBI came to that County Road 105 Vanderveer property where Barry had been doing some work on the weekend of Mother's Day. And I guess just prior to that. And remember, that's where Mary Branson, the elderly woman, had heard sounds late at night. And she insisted there could have been something going on. So anyway, that's the property where concrete was dug up for, I want to say, 2 or 3 days. So they were just kind of talking about that. But I guess results were negative. But again, their focus was on that concrete, I want to say. It wasn't at the spot, that beach, they call it the beach area, where Barry had constructed that, rocky area / wall thing. Okay, so now we're getting into top of page 31.
Real quick, I need to say thank you so much, Banyu Heelman. Thank you so much for the super sticker. It means the world. Any support really does help my channel. It keeps me making content. And also, guys, I want to do a raffle soon where I give away gift certificates and stuff like that. I want to give back to you guys because you guys are just the most amazing audience I could ever ask for. Thank you for showing up for me. It means the world. Anyway, this gets into the Facebook friend requests, which they give me the impression that it is possible maybe Suzanne wasn't alive anymore on Friday night. And you'll hear why right now.
And it says Facebook friend requests. Subsequent to the issuance of a search warrant, your affiant received the Facebook business record for the account of Suzanne Morphew. FBI Special Agent Grusing and FBI Staff Operations Specialist, SOS Robert Bose, reviewed the results. 20 males, 3 of them with the first name Jeff, though Jeff Libler was not on the list, and 3 females were new friends added to Suzanne's Facebook account between Friday, May 8th, 2020 at 9:04 p.m. through Saturday, May 9th, 2020 at 6:01 p.m. So they're saying in this window from Friday, May 8th evening through Saturday, May 9th, 6:01 p.m., there were a lot of friend requests made and new friends added. So that was kind of fishy because, and you'll hear it here as we go along, but it was not like Suzanne to do friend requests, especially to people that would have been more in her, brother's age range or Barry's age range. So it begs the question of, who was on her account? Who had reset it? From a cursory review of Suzanne's account dating back to January 1st, 2020, these friend requests were out of the norm for Suzanne. Though Suzanne received over 20 friend requests from others in 2020, her Facebook account profile initiated no friend requests until May 8th. Of the 23 people who received Suzanne's request, none were able to confirm with Suzanne that it was actually her who sent the request. FBI and CCSO interviewed over 10 of these recipients, most of whom live in Indiana. So, as I look at this, it's interesting to me, and maybe Barry did know that she was seeing a Jeff, because it's really odd that 3 of these people who she contacted or allegedly friend requested would have the first name of Jeff. Derek Thurston, who received a request from Suzanne's account on May 10, 2020 at 10:12 a.m., said he knew Suzanne from junior high and high school in Alexandria, but was not a close friend of hers. Thurston thought it odd that Suzanne decided to send the friend request after not talking to him in over 25 years. He added that she did not seem like the type who was desperate to friend people whom she did not know well. I totally understand that. I am the same way. Bobby Huff, who became Facebook friends with Suzanne on May 9, 2020 at 9:33 a.m., graduated with Barry from Alexandria Monroe High School, AMHS, in Alexandria, Indiana. Huff has not talked to Barry or Suzanne Morphew since 1985. He stated that Suzanne would never see me and friend me on Facebook. Huff explained that her sending of the invitation felt weird to him and not something Suzanne would do after such a long period of time of not speaking, especially the day before she disappeared. Huff added that many rumors were flying around Alexandria that Suzanne and Barry were not happy in their marriage, that Barry was in financial trouble, and that he was involved in shady business dealings. Shane Phillips became Facebook friends with Suzanne on May 8, 2020 at 9:08 p.m. Phipps said that he did not know Suzanne because she was younger than him, but he and Barry knew each other from AMHS, since Phipps was 1 year older than Barry. Wade Pulliam called the Suzanne Morphew tip line. Pulliam wanted to report receiving a Facebook request from Suzanne on Friday, May 8, 2020 at 10:05 a.m., which he found strange because he has not spoken with her in 30-plus years. Ricky King became Facebook friends with Suzanne on May 9, 2020 at 9:31 a.m. King had his phone with him when he received the friend request. On Saturday, May 9th, King had his phone with him when he received the friend request on that Saturday, May 9th. He accepted the request, though he had no real contact with Suzanne or Barry since high school. King described the friend request as strange, considering the timing and the fact that he did not know Suzanne or Barry well. Now, this is about the Range Rover being seized. On May 16, 2020, CSO seized the 2 Range Rovers located in the garage at the Morphews' residence. The vehicles were towed and taken to the CCSO secure impound facility to secure them for further evidence processing.
Real quick, I need to say thank you so much to my mod, Mrs. B, for gifting a membership. I hope that blesses somebody's life. Thank you so much, Mrs. B. Now, what we just heard here was about the Range Rovers being seized and taken in for processing. Now, what comes out much later once Barry, oh gosh, another spoiler, but Barry ends up filing a huge lawsuit. And we find out in that lawsuit, massive bunch of paperwork, or documents, I should say, that these Range Rovers were not even totally processed. They never got the telematics, if I'm remembering this correctly. I wish Naomi was in here. She can remember all that much better than I can. But it was so disappointing to find out that they never even got the telematics off of Suzanne's vehicle, or even checked out her daughter, I think it was Macy's Range Rover. Super disappointing.
On May 20th, 2020, your affiant spoke with FBI Special Agent Donati regarding the 2007 Range Rover and the 2015 Range Rover telematics. Special Agent Donati explained the 2007 Range Rover would not contain telematic information, but the 2015 may contain the data. On April 29, 2021, Special Agent Grusing advised that the results of the examination by FBI's Technology Division for the 2015 Range Rover have not been completed. Now we're getting into Barry's Verizon records. By the way, we're at the top, near the top of page 32. On May 12, 2020, your affiant spoke with Special Agent Kevin Hoyland with the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team. It's the CAST team. Special Agent Hoyland requested that cellular records be obtained for 1 month prior to law enforcement being notified on May 10, 2020, when Suzanne went missing. Special Agent Hoyland explained that records will be useful to establish a pattern of life for Suzanne with her call detail records. Search warrants were served to Verizon Wireless for detailed record information to include all geolocation information on the following people. So that would be Suzanne Morphew, Barry Morphew, and I'm going to say the daughters, and maybe one other person from how it looks. To date, no evidence has been obtained to include outgoing phone calls, outgoing SMS text messages, vehicle movements, sightings on video cameras, or sightings by an independent witness, other than Barry, that Suzanne left the Morphew house after May 8, 2020 at 7:06 p.m. After they got home from Moonlight Pizza on Friday evening, she did not leave her house again. And it was the following day, according to the last, known picture and stuff of her, that it was the following day, Saturday, May 9th, after about 2:47, that she was never seen or heard from again. Okay, FBI Special Agent Grusing, computer scientist Brian Turner, and cast agent Hoyland, along with personnel from the RMRCFL, have examined Barry's cell phone. Special Agent Grusing wrote the following regarding Barry's cell phone content as it relates to Suzanne's disappearance. From 5:41 p.m. on Friday, May 8th, 2020, through Sunday, May 10th, 2020.
Okay, so this is pretty important. We're getting into Barry's use of his phone, what, Suzanne's, I think, interactions were. This is pretty important info.
All 11 calls between Barry and Suzanne are outgoing from Barry to Suzanne. Out of 58 voicemails on Barry's phone, none are from Suzanne. Barry deleted numerous calls between himself and Suzanne from May 4th through 5th, 2020. When asked by FBI agents in April 2021 why he deleted those calls, he said he did not recall doing so and must have been freeing up space on his phone. Again, he has a story and a reason for everything. Okay, this is where it gets into his gross searches. So just, plug your nose, hold your nose, and, we'll get through this. On January 7th, 2020, Barry's phone searched how to make a girl orgasm YouTube. Recovered from deleted web search on Barry's phone. Barry's phone searched older man, younger woman relationships YouTube. Recovered from deleted web searches on Barry's phone. On January 8, 2020, Barry's phone searched the Facebook help page. I can't reset my Facebook password because I can't access the email or mobile phone number on my account. Help center. Recovered from deleted web searches on Barry's phone. On January 24, 2020, Barry's phone searched third base, my first hand job, Dear Teen Diary, 9th grade, entry 14, YouTube. Recovered from deleted web searches.
Anybody as nauseated as I am? Ugh. I don't want to think about Barry's searches, but it's part of the investigation, so we have to share it. It's pretty bad though, right?
On Barry's phone. Ew. Sorry. Yuck. I don't even want to imagine that. Okay, so notated down here, it says number 37. Reference the password. Reset on Suzanne's iPhone on the night of May 8th, 2020. Reference Barry's iPhone section for May 8th. The password was reset for Suzanne's iPhone on May 8th, 2020. On January 25th, 2020, Barry's phone accessed localsnapsext.com, find a cute girl near Salida, and Come Get Dirty, along with the other such sites that were recovered from deleted web searches on Barry's phone. On March 19, 2020, at 6:44 a.m., a video on Barry's phone was taken of a prescription drug bottle of Suzanne Morphew. On April 24, 2020, Suzanne sent Barry the following message that was recovered from deleted images by the RMR FCL. Oh, I'm sure your mistress has you all happy now, so you can say you love me, but bully me when you're with me. Yeah, that's love. RMR CFL examiner Jim Stevens found the above image as one that Barry likely swiped the message off his screen, and the swiped image was saved. This image was not recovered separately in Suzanne's iCloud storage on Barry's phone. On May 4th, 2020, at 4:04 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Suzanne that lasted 3 seconds. This was the first logged call in Barry's phone to or from Suzanne since February 2020. May 5th through 10th, Barry's phone and other GPS sources. For the context of examining data from Barry's phone, a comparison of the locations from his Ford F-350 as gathered from the return of the search warrant for telematics, together with the Verizon return from Suzanne's phone per search warrant return, are included by Special Agent Grusing for the dates of May 5th, 2020 through May 10th.
Yeah, I know. You really had to hold your nose for that one. His searches were rough.
2020. On May 6, 2020, Barry called Suzanne 6 consecutive times between 8:06 and 8:13 a.m. before she sent the aforementioned "I'm done. Let's handle this civilly" message at 10:13 a.m. That message was recovered from the RMR CFL as a deleted message from Barry's phone. On May 6, 2020, from 2:43 p.m. to 5 p.m., Suzanne received 4 messages deleted from Barry's phone prior to seizure of his phone on May 13, 2020. From Barry, which referenced, "When I'm dead, going to see my savior, and this life on earth is a mere grain of sand compared to eternity." Now, real quick, I want to make sure I don't skip over these little notations down here.
So hopefully you caught that. Barry was sending her very suicidal type messages, talking about going to meet his savior. So I think he knew that the time was coming to an end with her, being his wife. And he was doing anything he could to still try to control the situation. And of course, when you threaten to unalive yourself, it's going to get your partner's attention. And I think that's what he was doing. It was a cry for attention, honestly.
When it says number 38, by the way, this is the bottom of page 33. When Barry was asked by CBI if he ever searched online to meet other women, he replied, "No, never." He added, "Absolutely not, never." In Barry's interview with CBI on June 2nd, 2020, he stated that Suzanne was abusing her prescription pills. Then notation number 40 says, Suzanne's Verizon records, however, account for 8 calls between her and Barry that morning. The location activities registered by Barry's phone were abnormally high in frequency during the late nights and early morning hours of May 8th to May 9th, 2020, and May 9th to 10th, 2020, while at the Morphew residence. On May 8th, 2020, at 7:06 p.m., Barry's phone called Suzanne's while his phone was likely traveling west along US 50. Suzanne's phone location was approximately 3 miles east of Barry's phone. The call lasted 73 seconds and was the last recorded call for either device on May 8th, 2020.
That's very peculiar. Hold on. Let's read that again, because that's weird. So this would be Friday, May 8th, the day before. Okay, well, technically 2 days before she's reported missing. But we know that on Saturday, according to all this info, they say it was her last interaction at all, because she was supposedly texting with Libler. But right here, it's stated on May 8th, so it's that Friday night, 2020, 7:06 p.m., Barry's phone called Suzanne while his phone was likely traveling west along US 50. Suzanne's phone was approximately 3 miles east of Barry's phone. The call lasted 73 seconds and was the last recorded phone call for either device on May 8, 2020. So it's kind of, to me, that's a little weird, because weren't they supposedly going to Moonlight Pizza that night? And then it's later on that evening when her phone supposedly friends all these guys on Facebook, right? Really fishy. It does make me wonder if she was in fact already gone and he had a hold of her phone, right? And manufactured this look that or the situation where it looks like she and him are talking, but they're in separate places. What was the reason for that? It's very weird.
On Friday, May 8th, 2020, at 7:18 p.m., Barry's phone registered its last event of the day. Its next event was at 6:46 a.m. on May 9th, 2020, when Barry's phone registered power on. On May 9th, 2020, at 6:46 a.m., Barry's phone was taken out of airplane mode. Why? Why does he do that? And you know what? It could be, I have heard that it helps to preserve charge your phone faster. On May 9, 2020, at 6:46 a.m., Barry's phone was taken out of airplane mode. Your affiant knows that airplane mode is a setting available on smartphones and other portable devices. When activated, this mode suspends the device's signal transmission, technologies like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, effectively disabling all voice, text, and phone services. GPS may or may not be disabled. On May 9, 2020, from 7:22 to 7:39 a.m., Barry's phone registered locations at his Tailwinds work site near Poncha Springs. During that time, Suzanne's phone exchanged messages with her friend Sheila Oliver at 7:35 a.m. Greg Fisher accepted her Facebook request for friends at 7:30 a.m. Suzanne's phone was located at the Morphew residence per CAST, which was Cellular Analysis Survey Team analysis for the entire day of May 9, 2020. On May 9, 2020, from 9:31 a.m. to 9:33 a.m., Ricky King and Bobby Huff accepted Suzanne's.
I need to say sorry about that background noise. My husband was doing work on, I can't remember, it was something in the house, and he had his tools out, so it's really loud. My apologies, but I think it ends very soon.
Friend requests on Facebook. Barry's phone continued to receive messages from Suzanne's phone and send messages to her phone while he remained at the County Road 105 site until 9:37 a.m. On May 9, 2020, at 9:50 a.m., Suzanne texted Barry, "Want to hike?" At 10:36 a.m., Suzanne texted Barry, "Want to meet to hike?" At 10:48 a.m., Barry responded, "No, I'll come home." On May 9, 2020, at 11:14 a.m., Suzanne's phone received a second password reset message from Facebook. Shortly after 11:15 a.m.
Guys, I'm really sorry about that noise. Would you rather me just read this part? I know it's super annoying. It's making me irritated just going through this again and hearing that noise. But he's a good husband. He knows how to do anything. It's just, why did he have to do it while I was reading this? Okay, do you guys want me to just read it, or are you okay with it? I do think it ends soon, though. Thanks for your patience. I appreciate it.
A.m., Barry's phone traveled west on Highway 50, arriving at the Morphew residence around 11:27 a.m. Both phones per CAST appeared to be at the residence from 11:30 a.m. through 1:40 p.m. Barry's phone exchanged two messages with Tim Backhoe and Backhoe, I think he just has it in there to remember that Tim sells the backhoe, I believe. At 1:49 p.m. and 1:50 p.m., Barry also made an outgoing phone call to Suzanne for 2 seconds at 1:51 p.m., his 10th or 11th consecutive call to Suzanne. On May 9th, 2020, at 2:26 p.m.
Before it gets into her final use of the phone, allegedly, I want to go over that part again because I feel like it was so distracting, the sound. So let me go over that once more, okay? May 9th, 2020. So remember how Barry had done all these friend requests the night before. Oh, wait, that was a slip. I'm sorry. Suzanne did all these random friend requests, right, on Friday night. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, Ricky King and Bobby Huff accepted Suzanne's friend requests on Facebook. Barry's phone continued to receive messages from Suzanne's phone and send messages to her phone while he remained at the County Road 105 site until 9:37 a.m. So we're talking about Saturday morning, 9:30-ish in the morning. Barry's over working on that County Road 105 site, I think. Yeah, County Road 105 site. And Suzanne is at the house, allegedly. On May 9th, 2020, then at 9:50, so just a tad bit later, Suzanne texted Barry, "Want to hike?" At 10:36 a.m., Suzanne texted Barry, "Want to meet to hike?" At 10:48 a.m., Barry responded, "No, I'll come home." So just a little later at 11:14 a.m., Suzanne's phone received a second password reset message from Facebook. Shortly after 11:15 a.m., Barry's phone traveled west on Highway 50, arriving at the Morphew residence at around 11:27 a.m. Both phones now, per cast, cellular analysis, I can't remember the rest, cellular analysis, appeared to be at the residence from 11:30 a.m. through 1:40. So Barry comes home allegedly. He and Suzanne are both there from 11:30 to 1:40. Barry's phone then exchanges 2 messages with Tim Backhoe. That's who he had him in his phone as Tim Backhoe. At 1:49 p.m. and 1:50 p.m. Barry also made an outgoing call to Suzanne for 2 seconds, not sure why, at 1:51 p.m. So it says here his 10th of 11 consecutive calls to Suzanne. On May 9, 2020, at 2:26 p.m., Barry texted Suzanne, "Done, headed back." So what's really weird is then he must have done something. So if she really is still alive at this point, right? 2:30. It says right here at 2:31 p.m., Barry texted Suzanne, "Did you leave?" So like he was setting the stage to make it look like she took off. That's what I think happened anyway. Now by 2:43 p.m., Barry's phone and F350 per telematics appeared to be at the Morphew residence. Then on May 9th at 2:47 p.m., Barry's phone appears to enter airplane mode. So from what I remember, and hopefully I'm remembering this correctly, around 2:40, was it 2:44? I'm pretty sure I remember that his door, per telematics, his door like flies open. And what seems to be suggested at this point is that I think he starts running at this point. I wish Martin was in here. He would remember these details, but it might address them right now. So we'll just carry on. But anyway, I thought that was important to reiterate.
Barry texted Suzanne, "Done, headed back." At 2:31 p.m., Barry texted Suzanne, "Did you leave?" At 2:43 p.m., Barry's phone and F350 per telematics appeared to be at the Morphew residence. On May 9th, at 2:47 p.m., Barry's phone appears to enter airplane mode. Now there's some notations down here. Notation number 41. Fisher told the FBI that he thought Suzanne's Facebook had been hacked, and he checked her account online upon receiving the request. Fisher said he is a close friend of Gene Mormon, Suzanne's father, and said it didn't seem like her to send him the request. Notation number 42. Huff told the FBI that he did not think Suzanne sent the request, that she would never see me and friend me. Continuing on, top of page 35. On May 9th at 10:17 p.m., an airplane mode off event started on Barry's phone, and the phone was then powered on at 4:32 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. That May 9th to 10th, 2029, approximately 210 locations for Barry's phone registered near the Morphew residence, compared to 0 to 2 locations on previous nights from May 1st through May 8th. That means whatever he was doing, there were various locations around, it sounds like almost like the perimeter of that home. There were 210 individual spots in that yard or whatever where his phone was pinging. So whatever he did the bulk of it in that yard. And maybe, honestly, she's in that yard. On May 10th, 2020, Barry's phone just...
It's important to understand that I made these videos, I think it was October of 2021. It was just after Barry got out of jail and that affidavit was released. Then I did these audio recordings. So at the time, that was my thinking was, well, maybe she's in that yard. But just so you know, she wasn't found in that yard, in case you're new to this case.
Display came on and his device was unlocked at 3:56 a.m. On May 10th, 2020, from 3:25 a.m. to 3:48 a.m., the Ford F-350 registered 0 miles per hour with GPS at Morphew residence as the doors opened and closed multiple times. Special Agent Hoyland noted over 80 events involving the F-350 during this time frame. The location data from Suzanne's phone last registered with a tower near the Morphew residence at 4:23 a.m. Further events of Barry's phone records are documented under the surveillance video dash Broomfield section. Broomfield surveillance video, Barry's Ford F-350 and Barry's phone. Video footage was collected by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation from the Holiday Inn Express, 11401 Via Vara, Broomfield, Colorado, for May 10th, 2020. The following timeline of events include the surveillance video, telematics of Barry's truck, and his phone activities to provide his actions on May 10th. At 8:14 a.m., Barry's phone was at the Holiday Inn Express, 11401 Via Vara, Broomfield, Colorado. At 8:41 a.m., Barry texted Suzanne, "I made it to Broomfield. Call me when you get a chance." At 8:46 a.m., Barry walked into the hotel carrying 2 white trash bags, a khaki backpack, a pair of boots, a dark-colored item, and a piece of clothing with blue teal coloring. I wonder if that was anything that had to do with Suzanne. I know she would wear that blue teal colored, shirts and jackets and things like that. I wonder if it had anything to do with her. Why is he carrying all this? I mean, one could argue that, he knew he was gearing up to do that wall, right? The wall in Broomfield. Just don't know. Hopefully you can see that picture of Barry right there.
I'll never forget when Donna did her read on this case. And she was talking about these boots that he was wearing. And so when this footage and stuff came out of Barry holding these boots, it always takes me back to that read, which we really should revisit sometime soon. Because, man, she got a lot of stuff right. It's crazy.
In fact, he looks like he's looking for the camera like, oh, no, they got me on camera. Okay, top of page 36. At 10:06 a.m., Barry exited his hotel room. He was carrying the charcoal long-sleeve shirt and 2 white bags and a pair of boots. At 10:20 a.m., the location of Barry's phone was near the lot of McDonald's, 625 Interlochen Boulevard, Broomfield, Colorado. At 10:22 a.m., the driver door of the F-350 opened in the rear parking space of the same McDonald's lot, according to truck telematics. Barry is then seen on video, provided to CBI from the First National Bank, 615 Interlochen Boulevard, located adjacent to the McDonald's lot. He is carrying unknown items in his hands and placing items into 2 separate trash cans located on the edge of the McDonald's lot between 10:19 a.m. and 10:41 a.m. per CBI, no timestamps. From the bank video, Barry exited his truck, walked to a trash can while he held an unknown, smaller object in his left hand and possibly his right hand. He placed something in the can, extended his right arm downward into the can, and walked back to the open driver's door. Barry was oriented towards the inside of the driver's door and the driver's side floor for the next few frames. He walked to the same trash can, possibly with an item in his right hand, extended his right arm into the can, then placed both hands and arms into the can. Barry returned to the truck, oriented to the inner portion of the driver's side door. After a few frames, he turned with his hands together and walked to a trash can across the lot, so a different one. He returned to his truck and drove away.
I just have to say, Barry Morphew's daughters are convinced that he's innocent. How did he explain these movements away, right? With all the trash drops at 5 different locations? What did he say to them to make that make sense? There's really nothing that makes it make sense. He clearly was cleaning up after something he had done. And later on, he even admits to throwing in the trash some, the BAM, the tranquilizer stuff, the tranquilizer items. Man, nuts.
From 10:47 a.m. to 11:18 a.m., the location of Barry's phone was in or beside the lot of Men's Warehouse, address 160 East Flatiron Crossing Drive, Broomfield, Colorado. From 10:50 a.m. to 11:17 a.m., the driver and passenger doors of the F-350 were open and closed at least 7 times in the parking lot near Men's Warehouse. 160 East Flatiron Crossing Drive, Broomfield. At 11:23 a.m., the locations of Barry's phone and truck were at the Holiday Inn Express. At 11:36 a.m., Barry walked into the hotel lobby wearing a black t-shirt, carrying under his left arm a black binder and disorganized papers. At 11:56 a.m., Barry exited his room wearing a white...
Sorry, man, this is taking me back so much to Donna's reading. Keep in mind, Donna's reading was done in August of 2020. And this information didn't come out until September of 2021. And she described to a T what they just said he was wearing right there. That he was wearing a black shirt. I think she said he had some, was it cargo pants or khakis? I can't remember, but the boots specifically. Weird. Wow. We will have to go over that at a later time. That's crazy.
White shirt and carrying the binder with the papers. He walked to his truck at 11:57 a.m. Okay, so notation down here, 43.
Sorry, one more thing. And I remember she was talking about these papers and things that he was holding in his hands, that they were all messed up. Does anybody remember this? And then sure enough, the surveillance says the exact same thing, that he had these papers with him. And then he had these boots. He had all the, like, that's crazy. Wow.
It says, on April 22nd, 2021, FBI agents showed Barry these photos. Notation number 44 says, in March and April 2021, FBI agents showed Barry overhead photos of this site and could not recall why he was there or what he threw away. That's what he does. If he doesn't actually have an answer, he just says, I don't recall. It's just how he operates. From 11:57 a.m. to 12:25 p.m., Barry's phone was near the Via Vara worksite for the wall. At 12:06 p.m., Barry made an outgoing phone call to, and I believe that was Mallory, from what I remember. From 12:28 p.m. to 12:29 p.m., the location of Barry's phone was at the Holiday Inn Express. According to the telematics of the F-350, also registered the driver door opening and closing multiple times in the hotel lot. At 12:36 p.m., Barry arrived at the hotel parking lot in his truck. He got out of the truck and carried one white trash bag, larger in size than the previous bags, in one hand. In the other hand, he carried a black container along with a green item, possibly a piece of clothing. At 12:38 p.m., Barry placed bags, a black container, and clothing from his truck beside the curb near the hotel lobby. He then walked to his truck, appeared to pick up a small item from inside, picked up the trash bag, coat, and container, and walked towards the dumpster at the end of the lot. At 12:41 p.m., Barry walked back across the lot towards the hotel lobby with nothing in his hands. At 12:42 p.m., Barry entered his hotel room. Barry does not then leave his room, per the film, until 6:03 p.m. So I'm sure he was just waiting for that phone call. Notation number 45 says, and it's at the bottom of page 37, it says the first photo depicts Barry walking toward his room. The second is him walking away approximately 19 minutes later wearing a different shirt. He provided varying statements to CBI and FBI about these photos. Notation 46 says, on April 22nd, 2021, FBI agents asked Barry why he did not park near the dumpster to throw away these items, and he said he did not recall. In March 2021, agents showed Barry photos of him carrying a camouflage coat, a black tree container, and a bag across the hotel lot and asked him what items were in the bag and why he was throwing those items away. He did not provide details and could not recall the item. We're at the top of page 38. At 3:30 p.m., Barry sent an outgoing message to Suzanne, quote, call me. At 5:15 p.m., Barry received an incoming call from Gene Ritter. At 5:45 p.m., Barry received another incoming call from Gene and Martin Ritter. At 5:57 p.m., the telematics of the F-350 registered GPS coordinates at the Holiday Inn parking lot. The previous GPS coordinates for the F-350 registered at 12:28 p.m. At 6:03 p.m., Barry exited the hotel room wearing a black shirt with his khaki backpack on his back. At 6:05 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Martin Ritter. At 6:06 p.m., Barry pulled his truck in front of the hotel and walked into the lobby before walking back out of the lobby at 6:08 p.m. At 6:09 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Morgan Gentile. At 6:10 p.m., Barry entered the lobby carrying 2 shovels and placed them beside the front desk. He made subsequent trips, placing more tools in the same spot. At 6:12 p.m., Barry left the hotel lot in his truck. At 6:20 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to blank.
I believe that outgoing call might have been back to Mallory. It's important to realize that Barry, from 12:42 p.m. on that Sunday until 5:55 p.m., he didn't leave his hotel room. And at certain points, he had lied and actually said that the phone call he received from Mallory indicating, that mom, that they couldn't get a hold of mom, he stated that he was over, at the wall, working on the wall, when in fact he was in his hotel room just dinking around, just lying. And then it's funny because investigators present him with that evidence and then he makes up another lie to cover it up. So every time they would present him with new facts that they had uncovered, he would alter his story to meet the evidence that they had. Really, really fishy.
I'm not sure who that was. It could have been Ritter, Gene Ritter. It could have been Mallory. I'm not sure. At 7:10 p.m., Barry received an incoming call from blank, Chaffee County's Sheriff's Office. At 7:21 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Suzanne. At 7:33 p.m., CCSO dispatch called Barry and informed in a minute 32-second phone call that Suzanne's bike was found. When asked to describe the bike, Barry did not know the make, but said it was blue with colorful pedals. Barry started crying and asked, "They found a bike?" He said he was heading that way and asked, Did they find the phone? At about 10:30 p.m., Morgan Gentile arrived at the Holiday Inn Express and checked into Barry's room. So there's some notations down here. Let's read them. Number 47. This call to Suzanne was his first outgoing communication to her after learning she was possibly missing. Following the 5:15 p.m. phone call from the Ritters, made no independent effort to determine whether she was simply not answering her phone due to poor cell service before he abandoned his work project, staged the tools in the lobby, and left town. The call was not answered. The location of Barry's phone was on Highway 285, approximately 75 miles from Broomfield. Okay.
Okay, guys, do you want me to continue to part 5 and listen to that a little bit, or would you rather me just go into what happens next in the case? Because I'm not sure. I know a lot of you have probably heard this stuff. Yes, it serves as a refresher, but you do want to listen, Serendipity? Okay, let's listen to part 5. And it's very interesting, no doubt. So we'll see. Maybe we won't listen to the whole part 5, but we'll listen to some of it because I know there's a lot there. It really tells the story, no doubt. Okay, let's listen to part 5. Let's see. I think it.
Okay, so we'll have to leave it there. Go ahead and click on the 5th video to continue listening. We'll pick up at the bottom of page 38. Bye.
Oh, I didn't. I guess I didn't. Hold on. I got to find it. Just give me 1 sec.
Here we are again. This is going to be the 5th segment of the read-through of Barry Morphew's arrest affidavit. We are at almost the top of page 39 in the area that's titled Returns for Suzanne's Phone and iCloud Accounts. On May 28, 2020, Apple Inc. returned records pursuant to a search warrant for Suzanne's account for email blank. Don't know what her email was. Can't remember. That was associated with an Apple account created on January 16, 2019. This account also listed Suzanne's name, address, and phone number. Apple provides a separate identifier known as a person ID, which is understood to be unique to an individual subscriber. In those same Apple records, that person ID associated with Suzanne logged multiple updates to applications through the iTunes Store, including for both LinkedIn and WhatsApp applications. This indicates that Suzanne had WhatsApp and LinkedIn installed on her device through May 9, 2020, when the last update was logged for each. Suzanne's Verizon return. Per location coordinates received from the search warrants served on Suzanne's Verizon account, Special Agent Grusing determined that she traveled to Florida, staying in various locations in Naples and Marco Island between January 31, 2020 and February 16, 2020. She communicated primarily with Sheila Oliver, Barry, Gene Mormon, and Kurt Sigler. On May 5, 2020, Suzanne's text and locations confirmed her trip to Gunnison to drop off blank, which would be Macy, so that Macy and Mallory could travel together on their trip. On May 6, 2020, at 8:44 a.m., Suzanne sent blank a text. "Good morning, I miss you already." I think that was to her daughter, Macy. Her next message was to Barry at 10:13 a.m., stating, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly," which was, by the way, deleted from Barry's phone. On May 6, 2020, from 2:43 p.m.
It's important to note that he later tells investigators that the reason he deleted these mean text messages from Suzanne was because he didn't want his daughter to see them. Baloney. Total baloney. They were incriminating for him. And I think they revealed that the marriage was not bliss. It was not wedded bliss at all. In fact, she was at the end of her rope and she was leaving him. He didn't want that out.
To 5:00 p.m., Barry sent her the suicide text, which he deleted from his phone, which, by the way, were the "I'm going to meet my savior," those weird texts that he sent out, the suicidal ones. On May 7, 2020, Suzanne sent blank videos of the cat, Lulu, from inside the Morphew house and exchanged messages with her. Oh man, if only cats could tell a story, right? That cat must have seen so much. Oh my gosh. On May 7, 2020, at 4:43 p.m., Suzanne messaged Barry, "Been studying all afternoon. I'm going to bike now. I've got veggie soup on for supper." On May 8, 2020, at 7:02 a.m., Suzanne's notes folder was last backed up, wherein she articulated over 50 grievances against.
What do you guys notice about that text on May 7th, 2020 at 4:43 p.m.? You notice it's in the afternoon, 4:43 p.m. in the afternoon. Suzanne says to Barry, "Been studying all afternoon. I'm going to bike now." You see, she never took bike rides in the morning like he insisted. She took bike rides in the afternoon. So his whole story was absolute cockamamie garbage. And I can't buy it because that wasn't her routine. What he said was not her routine at all.
Against Barry. One of which she refers to Barry, accusing her on May 6 of having a boyfriend. On May 8, 2020, at 8:43 a.m., Suzanne sent Barry the message, "Sorry I forgot about Rob Mazzell last night, but I will continue to do your invoicing when you need to." On May 8th, from 9:01 a.m. to 9:28 a.m., Suzanne messaged Melinda Baumunk, which was her sister, by the way. "It's hard dealing with a harsh abrasiveness and having to show respect. He's also been abusive emotionally and physically." So the next part will be Suzanne's Instagram account. But there are some notations down below of page 39 that says, and this is number 48, investigators noted that Barry did not ask if Suzanne was found, but he asked about the phone. So odd. Number 49, this text of Suzanne's offer To continue to do your invoicing follows her May 6 text request to handle this civilly and her numerous attempts to separate from Barry. Her subsequent text to her sister Melinda indicates that she let the mistreatment continue for too long and she was moving on in a different direction. When FBI agents showed Barry these texts during interviews in 2021, he said he did not think Suzanne was serious. So now we're getting into Suzanne's Instagram account. This will be the top of page 40. Special Agent Grusing interviewed Robin Binford, a friend of Suzanne's from Indiana, on June 30th, 2020. Binford has known Suzanne Morphew since middle school and was her close friend through high school. She and Suzanne have consistently communicated through Facebook and Instagram over the years. Binford stated that she had some problems with the way Suzanne supposedly went missing based upon Suzanne's normal routines. On the Saturday before the weekend Suzanne went missing, she posted an Instagram story video about her and blank, stating that blank always surprised her. Suzanne used the Instagram story to take photos to document each of her bike rides. Binford said that upon hearing that Suzanne went missing, she checked Instagram and found that Suzanne did not post anything about the ride. Binford knew that Suzanne was still grieving over her mother within the past 2 years or so, and that Mother's Day was going to be a difficult day for her. Binford did not think that Suzanne would choose to spend the day without her girls and husband. From a review of Suzanne Morphew's Instagram account, obtained through a search warrant in the state of Colorado, the attached pictures of her, often in biking outfits, were located with the dates 5/6/2020, 4:30, and that was Little Rainbow Trail, 4/27/2020, with location Mount Shavano, 4/20/2020, at 2:18 p.m., with location of Methodist Mountain and captions, first single track, and broke my first chain, smiling emoji. Now we're going into the search warrant of the Morphew home. Search warrant of the phone. Per the Verizon warrant served on blank's cell phone, the following message was sent from blank on May 10, 2020 at 3:50 p.m., over an hour before Martin Ritter reported her missing.
Real quick, I need to interrupt first, say hi, Donna. Hope you're doing well. I'm glad you're here. And also, I need to thank Magali Kane. Let me see where. Oh, here it is. Okay. Sorry, guys. I had to step away for a second. So I'm just getting to this now. Magali Kane, thank you so much for your super chat of $9.99. She says, I believe Barry used Suzanne's Facebook to invite those people as a form of vengeance. Oh, good point. Because he had discovered her affair with a former classmate. He wanted to ferret out the lover. Very interesting possibility. Yeah, good point. Thank you so much again for your super chat.
I'm just so sad and blank, and I texted Mom for Mother's Day, and she still hasn't answered, and I'm scared her and Dad probably got a big fight, and I don't even know. It just made me want to be gone even more because I don't want to be around them. It hurts me, and I know if blank is working, I might have to be home a lot more.
This is so very important right here, guys. So this is Macy talking about her parents' messed up relationship, their tumultuous relationship. And why this matters and why I want to reiterate this part is because you're going to see later when I play a Good Morning America interview of both daughters and Barry, they talk about this picture perfect marriage that Mom and Dad had. Like, what a lie. They were lying through their teeth. So let's listen to this part once more. Let me back it up just a hair because you really need to hear this.
Just so sad and blank, and I texted Mom for Mother's Day, and she still hasn't answered, and I'm scared her and Dad probably got a big fight, and I don't even know. It just made me want to be gone even more because I don't want to be around them. It hurts me. And I know if blank is working, I might have to be home a lot more, and it'll probably be the worst summer of my life. On May 13, 2020, CCSO Deputy Caricato took photos of scratches on Barry Morphew's left arm. Here you can see them. Wow. Goodness. Now, one could argue that that's from landscaping, but that does look like some defensive wounds. And it's not a real clear picture, but you can see the abrasive nature of these lacerations, it almost looks like. Okay, so canine search on May 23rd, 2020. On May 23rd, 2020, search teams, along with canines and canine handlers, bloodhound man trackers, necrosearch, searched the 19507 Puma Path property. During the search, 3 different canines were used. Okay, I should warn you, this is where it gets very interesting. During the search, 3 different canines were used. Each of the 3 canines were run blindly and individually during the search on the west area of the driveway parking area, where a flatbed trailer and bobcat skid steer are parked. All 3 canines, trained, final response, alerted. The canines used have been trained in a specific way to alert their handlers when they detect possible human decomp or remains on the top of the trailer. So these 3 different canines alerted to this trailer. So I'll read that part just one more time. On the west area of the driveway parking area, where a flatbed trailer and bobcat skid steer are parked, all 3 canines, trained, final response, alerted on the top of the trailer.
I'm glad Donna's in here right now, because this to me directly correlates to her read she did August of 2020, like I've been talking about. In that read, she describes what she perceived almost as like a dump truck. Donna, I hope I'm not botching this description, but she said it's like this thing, this dump truck or whatever, almost backs up, which I think totally describes this trailer actually, because it has a ramp. And maybe he did something with her body originally there, because Donna saw that psychically and she's been right on. Pretty weird.
It should be noted, on the bed of the trailer, there is gravel and dirt, which I think Barry would have covered his tracks by putting gravel and dirt up there. Can you imagine that? This is an area the canines alerted. All 3 canines again alerted on the bobcat, and one of the canines jumped into the bobcat and tried to lay down on the driver's seat. The bobcat located on the Morphew property is identified as a 2018 Bobcat compact skid steer. Model number S590 and product identification number AR9R18813. The flatbed trailer and bobcat skid steer are parked directly next to each other. Bobcat sim removal. On May 28, 2020, Deputy Randy Caricato, with the assistance of FBI Special Agent David Donati, removed the SIM card, subscriber identity module, from the Cal AMP device. This is the device Agent Graham learned about that Barry had on his bobcat skid steer. This device utilizes Verizon Connect services and is a GPS tracking device. Special Agent Hoyland spoke with Special Agent Donati and requested a search warrant be applied to obtain what data the SIM card may contain. At present, Barry's use of the bobcat does not appear to be connected to Suzanne's disappearance. Now, if that would have been used to attach the trailer, the flatbed trailer, to a vehicle, I don't know. I just don't know. I can't agree with that, though. And I know I'm not an investigator. I'm not an FBI agent. I'm none of those. But how can they say it wasn't used in some capacity? Okay, bank accounts. Here we go. On May 20th, 2020, your affiant served search warrants to Equifax and TransUnion to identify what credit accounts Barry and Suzanne would have currently and or at the time frame of Suzanne's disappearance. This information was necessary to establish a pattern of life for both Suzanne and Barry, as well as proof of life for Suzanne. On May 28, 2020, Equifax and TransUnion provided the following are open and active accounts for Suzanne and Barry. So there's an Indiana Members Credit Union. There's Capital One / Cabela's. Gee, we know who that's for, Barry. There's a Discover card, Community Bank / Victoria's Secret. I'm assuming that would be Suzanne's. Fifth Third Bank and Credit One. Your affiant has served warrants on these accounts, and the results are being compiled and analyzed by the FBI and a private forensic accountant. Indiana Members Credit Union. On June 6, 2020, your affiant served via email a search warrant for Indiana Members Credit Union requesting banking records for the Morphews. On June 9, 2020, your affiant received via email from Deborah Morelli, loss prevention manager, the requested records for the Morphew's account. With the records, there is documentation that on June 5th, 2020, Barry called the bank and requested his email address be changed from blank to blank. So probably changed from her to him. Per search warrant served by your affiant on Collegiate Peaks Bank on May 26, 2020, Barry withdrew $5,846.22 in the Suzanne Morphew Foundation account, which brought the balance to zero. The account was opened on March 5th, 2020, with a deposit of $5,880.
Why was he messing with her charity? Remember, what was it? The Suzanne R. Morphew Hope Foundation? It was something like that. And here he is, he's withdrawing. Let's read that again. Per search warrant served by your affiant on Collegiate Peaks Bank on May 26, 2020, Barry withdrew $5,846.22 in the Suzanne Morphew Foundation account, which brought the balance to zero. The account was opened on March 5th, 2020, which was just a couple months before that, when they were fighting about money, remember, and the secret recordings were happening. The account was opened on March 5th, 2020, with a deposit of $5,880. What was the point of that? So she's missing and he withdraws the money? I'm telling you, it's all about the money. Wow.
Possible second device for Barry. Yeah, this is interesting too. So he likely had a second cell phone. Here we go. On June 11, 2020, your affiant received information from FBI Special Agent Grusing and computer scientist Brian Turner that while reviewing the data from the cell phone extraction of Barry's iPhone, they found a second device, user ID 2BD073C4-EFD5-413C-351DD5B43C11. Identifier blank was associated with Barry's iPhone with an SMS at 3:43 p.m. May 8th, 2020. So a text message associated with Barry's iPhone with a text message at 3:43 on the afternoon, the day before she, quote, vanishes. This user ID is separate from the primary user ID, and then it says it all out, identifier. So it's completely different. The second device was first used on November 30th, 2019, and was associated with Barry's iPhone 91 times since then, compared to 1,701 associations with the primary user ID since November 2019. Okay, so May 5th, 2020, he used...
Guys, that's fish flavored. That is so fish flavored. He had a second cell phone. Now, what's really crazy, and they might get into this next in this affidavit, Shoshana, which, you know, he didn't start officially seeing her, I don't think, until like Christmas of 2020 timeframe. But when she is interviewed by investigators, supposedly she had a second cell phone number for Barry. If my memory serves me correctly, I'm 99.99% sure that happened. Wow.
Used it May 10th, 2020, 8:47 a.m. He used it May 10th, 2020, 11:50 a.m. He used it May 11th, 7:54 a.m. He used it May 11th, 2020, 8:14 a.m. He used it May 11th, 2020, 5:44 a.m. He used it, or sorry, p.m. He used it May 12th, 2020 at 5 p.m. He used it. As of this present date, the second device has not been identified.
Also, it's important to note here, as we read through this affidavit, it will come out that Shoshana Dark, which is Barry Morphew's girlfriend, ends up deleting a second cell phone number for Barry in front of a law enforcement agent. Needless to say, it's very fishy.
So now we're at the top of page 43.
Okay, so Serendipity says Shoshana may have been October 2020. You know, it's very possible. I just remember it was like around Christmas, but you could be totally right. Honestly, I think she was in the picture long before this. And I was listening to one of my phone calls, which I might post for my members, with Francis Bach. And he was talking about the timeline of when he and Shoshana broke up because remember, he was her former fiance. And he was talking about when they broke up and then how Barry could have been in the picture potentially that whole time. I'll have to, yeah, I think I'll post that soon, guys.
So this is about her proof of life. FBI proof of life fugitive searches. Per the request of FBI Special Agent Grusing with the assistance of the FBI Safe Streets Task Force, the following searches were done through the FBI and its federal partners in attempts to locate Suzanne as if she was a fugitive or missing person. On August 26, 2020, Agent Brian Palmer, Homeland Security Investigations, Denver, Colorado, checked border crossings for Suzanne Renee Morphew, or Suzanne R. Mormon, date of birth, April 30th, 1971, blank, and provided the following text. I don't have any land border crossings for her. The last travel I have was her returning from San Jose, Mexico to Dallas, Texas on December 2nd, 2019 on American Airlines flight number 1385. On August 25th, 2020, FBI Special Agent Martin Daniel requested flight information from a national airlines reporting agency and found flights for Suzanne on July 24, 2019, July 28, 2019, August 13, 2019, and August 17, 2019. More flights were located for Suzanne Mormon in April 2020, but this person did not appear to be identical to Suzanne. On August 24th, 2020, Patricia T. Ellswick, Technical Information Specialist, FBI CJIS Division, Global Law Enforcement Support Section, NCIC Operations and Policy Unit Investigative and Operational Assistance Group, provided emails of the offline records check for any law enforcement queries of Suzanne. The spreadsheets provided multiple queries from Chaffee County Sheriff's Office and the Colorado Bureau of Investigations from May 10th to 12th, 2020.
Donna made a really good point. Let's see. She thought Suzanne hired Shoshana to clean when Suzanne was on chemo. Yeah, Donna, I remember hearing that too. I think if Naomi was in here, she could for sure tell us. But that's the story I understand too, is that she was cleaning for the Morphews like at least a year before Suzanne, quote, disappeared. So I think you're right.
SHP Cheyenne queried her on May 13, 2020, and Loveland PD queried her once on May 14, 2020, both during the widespread news stories. Besides other CCSO, CBI, and FBI queries from the Colorado offices, in June and July 2020, the Okeechobee, did I say that right? Okeechobee? Sheriff's Office in Florida queried Suzanne Morphew, date of birth 4/30/1971, 3 times on July 10th, 2020. On August 25th, 2020, Special Agent Grusing spoke with the dispatch operator, Joanne, for Okeechobee Sheriff's Office and learned that CBI requested a welfare check for Suzanne Morphew because of the Okeechobee address for her father, Gene Mormon. Suzanne was not located. Wyoming State Highway Patrol Dispatch and Loveland PD Dispatch confirmed to Special Agent Grusing on September 1st, 2020, that they had no contact with Suzanne but were simply running an attempt to locate based upon CCSO's entry. On August 25th, 2020, FBI Operations Support Technician, OST, Dana Plumhoff provided the following checks per the request of SA Grusing. Nothing of significance in Suzanne's CLEAR report, that's the acronym CLEAR report. No activity seen tied to her since 2019. Now it says, notated down here on number 50, this photo of Suzanne was used for the FBI request sent to HSI and other entities named in the section. Suzanne R. Morphew Hope Foundation was first filed in Indiana in 2012. It was registered as a nonprofit with Colorado Secretary of State on February 21st, 2020 by Barry Morphew at 19057 Puma Path, Salida, Colorado.
It's really weird to me that he appointed, hopefully I can remember this correctly, it was either his mother or his sister. So Barry appointed his mother or his sister as being the chair of the Suzanne Morphew Hope Foundation. But why? I mean, this sounds more of a Barry thing than a Suzanne thing if his family was involved. And let's not forget, when Suzanne vanished and they did that big GoFundMe, and it was like, I think $33,000 was raised. Remember, he had his mother, what's her name? Shirley, his mom, Shirley, be I think the lead on the GoFundMe account. Why? These are very bizarre things to do. And also, when his wife was missing, why was Shirley, Barry's mother, on that GoFundMe account at all? Wow. Lots of questions.
OST Plumhoff further noted that as of May 11, 2020, CCSO entered Suzanne as a missing person in the National Crime Information Center, NCIC database. For checks in Accurant, nothing significant was found by OST Plumhoff for Suzanne besides her ties to Pumapath address in Salida as of May of 2020. No electric or utilities were found in her name. Her social security numbers had not been used since May of 2020. No physical addresses or P.O. boxes for her name or social security number were located, nor were any liens, judgments, or loans accrued under her name. On August 26, 2020, FBI SOS Kelly Rose Olson requested a nationwide facial analysis comparison and evaluation, parentheses, acronym FACE, F-A-C-E, services search for Suzanne Morphew, using the photo above. This service, through the FBI's Criminal Justice Information Services, CGIS system, compares the photo of Suzanne to the issuance of visas and passports, driver's license photos from 18 states, and the Department of Defense, DoD, Automated Biometric Identification System, ABIS. To date, none of these databases have provided any biometrics that match those of Suzanne. For checks in the internal FBI database, several financial related results on Suzanne and Barry were referenced from 2013 to 2018. It appears they had access to large amounts of cash. The reporting parties were concerned about money structuring. On June 24, 2020, Barry made a $20,000 deposit at Collegiate Peaks Bank in Salida on Suzanne's behalf. He has a history of making large cash deposits and wire transfers. These same checks for Suzanne's proof of life were conducted March 2021 by the FBI with the same negative results. CBI laboratory results. On June 3, 2020, the CBI laboratory, hereafter CBI lab, provided the results of DNA analysis for the CCSO case 2000911. 65 evidence items to include DNA buccal swabs from the Morphew family members, Andrew Mormon, and others were listed. Of note, no workable DNA was recovered from the Bobcat blade, the new dart box, or the dryer. On August 31st, 2020, Special Agent Grusing reviewed the lab results with CBI lab forensic scientist Caitlin Rogers to discuss results relevant to this affidavit. The following items were noted. The DNA.
So that's kind of interesting. Okay, let's go back to that. Is it this one? Yeah. On June 3rd, 2020, the CBI laboratory, hereafter CBI lab, provided the results of DNA analysis for the CCSO case, which is Suzanne's case. 65 evidence items to include DNA buccal swabs from the Morphew family members, Andrew Mormon, and then whoever was redacted, and others were listed. Of note, no workable DNA was recovered from the Bobcat blade or the new dart, which is the tranquilizer box or the dryer. Huh. Interesting.
On the bicycle seat, item 5.1 included a mixture of 4 people, Suzanne being the primary with Barry, and one of the responding CCSO personnel, Caricato, being included. The 4th male is unknown. The DNA on the bicycle grips, item 6.1, included a DNA mixture of 4 people, Suzanne, Sergeant Molinax being primary contributors. Barry was excluded as a contributor. Gosh, he sure covered his tracks well, didn't he? The DNA on the bicycle brakes and handlebars, item 7.1, included a mixture of 4 people. Suzanne, Deputy Brown, and Deputy Himshoe were primary contributors. Barry was excluded. Now it says down here, notation number 51, which by the way is at the bottom of page 44. This mixture is at least 12 decillion, so it's 1033 times more likely to be observed if it originated from Barry Morphew. Caricato.
I'm sorry, but that's wild. How did Barry manage to keep his DNA off of her bicycle grips? Did he never touch her bike? Did he rub it down with bleach or rubbing alcohol or something? Barry was excluded here too. The DNA on the bicycle brakes and handlebars included a mixture of 4 people. Suzanne, Deputy Brown, and Deputy Himshoot were primary contributors. Barry was excluded. Boy, he thought of everything, didn't he? Yeah, there you go, serendipity. Yep, gloves. Amen.
Suzanne Morphew and an unknown unrelated individual than if it originated from Suzanne Morphew, and 3 unknown unrelated individuals. Very strong support. Okay, so now we're at the top of 45. The front driver door, item 25.1 of the 2015 white Land Rover, license plate CSU 581, was tested, and the DNA was consistent with samples from Barry and Suzanne. Blank and blank were excluded. I'm going to say that could have been the daughters, but I don't know for sure. A plastic hypodermic cover, item 41, collected from the dryer, was tested by CBI for DNA. A low-level partial DNA mixture of 2 people was recovered, with Suzanne and blank being possible contributors. Barry was excluded as a contributor.
Okay, that's bizarre, right? That is so weird. A plastic hypodermic cover collected from the dryer. So this would be the tranquilizer cover. Was tested by CBI for DNA. A low-level partial DNA mixture of 2 people was recovered, with Suzanne and, I'm going to guess, like Mallory being possible contributors. Could be Mallory, could be Macy, I don't know. Barry was excluded as a contributor. Again, he covered his tail, in my opinion.
A dart needle, item 44.1, collected by CCSO, submitted as dart from box and garage, was swabbed and a partial DNA profile was developed, with Barry included as a contributor with moderate support. The dart body, item 44.2, collected by CCSO, submitted as dart from box and garage, was swabbed, and a low-level DNA profile referenced that blank could have been a contributor.
That is important, you see. So the stuff that mainly, so besides the dryer hypodermic cover for that tranquilizer, the dart needle as well as the dart body both show that Barry he did have some sort of a supporting DNA, what do you call it? He was a contributor of that DNA, I guess, that was found on there. So that matters, especially for what comes later, right?
The interior cushions of the helmet, item 49.2, were tested for DNA, and a partial profile was developed. The mixture was more likely to involve Barry and Suzanne than coming from anyone else by a factor of 6.2 times. Barry's liquidation of assets. Within a month of Suzanne's disappearance, Barry began to liquidate their assets. June 1st, 2020. So this is, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks after she goes missing. Barry petitioned for guardianship in Hamilton County, Indiana, of Suzanne for him to act as her guardian. This filing allowed Barry to sign documents on Suzanne's behalf and sell their residences in Indiana and Colorado. Blank filed consent for the guardianship. I believe it was Mallory who filed the consent for that guardianship. Below are some screenshots of the court documents. You can see it here. And by the way, there's another notation down here, bottom of page 45, and the notation number is 52. This mixture is at least 40 sextillion, 10 and 51 times more likely to be observed if it originated from Barry Morphew and Suzanne Morphew than if it originated from 2 unknown, unrelated individuals. Very strong support. Interesting. On June 6, 2020, Barry closed on the 26040 Cal Carson Road, Arcadia, Indiana property with the closing price of $750,000. Your affiant served Bank of the West a search warrant for accounts associated to Barry and Suzanne Morphew for an
Very important here, guys. I'm eating a little, so I'm muting myself out. But on June 6, 2020, Barry closed on that home. So he and Suzanne had listed their Arcadia, Indiana property. And of course, she happens to be a missing person when the home is actually sold and he gets a payout. It's so incredibly convenient, isn't it? Well, we'll listen to all these transactions. These are very important.
Account of blank and Barry Morphew blank. There is a deposit dated February 24th, 2020 for $40,000 from Monex. On June 19, 2020, there's a check written to Barry Morphew. The signer appears to be blank in the amount of $30,000. I'm not sure what those details are, like who they're from. I don't know that. On July 1st, 2020, Kent Townsend told your affiant that on June 25th, 2020, Barry paid $160,000 for the Lot 8 property at Longhorn Ranch in Salida. Barry sold this back to Townsend on February 17th, 2021 for $150,000. So he lost $10,000 on the deal. So what was the purpose of buying it? Was it just to lock money up in some sort of an asset? I don't know. On July 13, 2020, Barry initiated a title change for Suzanne's Range Rover, selling it to Troy and Elizabeth Riley of Deputy, Indiana on July 16, 2020. On March 3rd, 2020, the recorder's office in Salida informed your affiant that they had...
Let's talk about that for a moment. Let's just say, since most of my audience here is women, your husband is a missing person. Are you going to go sell his vehicle like a month after he disappears? Because that's what Barry did. He sold so many things that summer. Remember, she vanished in May. Then in June, he's making these, big purchases and selling stuff. And then I think it was in July, it was constantly this liquidation and purchasing, a constant routine of that. But he wouldn't have done that if Suzanne was around. You see what I'm saying? That the whole motive here wasn't about the affair. It was about the freaking money. That's it, and that's all.
It just received a special warranty deed that 19057 Puma Path had sold to Mountain Renewal LLC for $1.625 million. So they sold the Puma Path property. Not they, Barry. Barry sold. And by the way, there was a woman, I want to say her name was Kara Baker. She had financial interest still in the property because of the warranty deed that she had to sign off of. I don't know those details, but Naomi, my friend that you saw in the live with Donna Gonzo and I, she knows those details if you want to ask her.
Speaking of lovely Naomi, she's right here. She made a good point. So she's talking in reference to the Cal Carson, Arcadia, Indiana home, I think. It was actually under a rent-to-own contract with a pre-planned final purchase date. So Barry knew when that home was going to close. Okay, he knew that ahead of time. So it was very convenient that Suzanne disappeared 1 month before that closed. Crazy. Wow.
Sorry, Naomi, if you're listening to this and I just threw you under the bus, but I know that you know all the details here. Anyway, carrying on. So the next section, section 5, interviews. Morgan's interview, May 14, 2020. This is the bottom, page 46. By the way, there is a notation, line number 53. Suzanne's list of grievances cites a transaction such as this one involving Monex, and she mentions one involving blank to Libler shortly before she disappears. So she told Libler about one of these Monex transactions, I'm guessing. And it was a big deal to her because she wrote it in her list of grievances. We are now at the top of page 47. On May 14th, 2020,
Okay, guys, I'm gonna ask you now. Do you want to keep listening to this, to the rest of it, and then be done and go on to the next details, or do you want to stop here? I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Let me know in the comments. Are you enjoying hearing this? I'll keep playing it until I see some comments come through.
Colorado Bureau of Investigation agents Kevin Kobach and Joseph Cahill conducted a consensual recorded interview with Morgan Ann Gentile in Salida, Colorado. Morgan stated that around July 2019, she returned to Salida and started working at Diesland Structures, Inc., DSI. She first met Barry through DSI, and they have worked together frequently. In January 2020, Morgan was terminated from DSI over allegations that she used illegal drugs, though she asserted she did not use drugs. After she was terminated, Barry hired her on as a contractor for his company, Sunset Farms Landscaping. Barry frequently talks to Morgan about his 2 daughters. He has never spoken of any marital or other family issues. Barry told Morgan about the Broomfield job sometime in mid-April 2020. Morgan stated the job was supposed to take place between April 23rd and April 30th. However, she was not sure of the exact date. Barry then changed the job to take place on or about the first week of May. Barry then rescheduled the job to begin on May 11th, 2020. Morgan stated on May 8th, 2020, Barry picked her up from Anytime Fitness, 9985 Highway 50, Poncha Springs, Colorado.
Just so everybody's tracking, we're getting into Morgan Gentile, her account of that whole weekend and the jobs that they worked on, and then the Mother's Day, the hasty trip that Barry made, and that kind of info. So you'll definitely want to pay attention here.
And they traveled to a job site at 6962 County Road 105, Salida. They arrived at around 8 a.m., completed a Rock Beach project, and left.
This Memorial Day weekend,
we are indeed in the land of opportunity.
I want stuff. I want a good stuff.
Furiosa is simply one of the best prequels ever.
11 a.m., Barry took her back to her vehicle, Salida. They arrived at around 8 a.m., completed a Rock Beach project, and left. At around 11 a.m., Barry took her back to her vehicle by Anytime Fitness. He paid her in cash for the job and left. Morgan stated that Barry mentioned he was going to go hiking or biking. Barry was supposed to pick Morgan up at around 5:30 p.m. on Sunday, May 10, 2020, to drive to a hotel in Broomfield, Colorado. Cassidy Cordova was supposed to drive up separately and meet them on Monday, May 11, 2020. Morgan stated that at around 4 a.m. on May 10, 2020, she was confident she heard Barry's Ford 350 drive eastbound past her house on Highway 50. Morgan stated she did not see the truck, but that his truck has a very distinctive exhaust. At about 11:18 a.m., May 10, 2020, Barry called Morgan and explained she needed to bring in an additional person because of the amount of work needed to repair the wall. She agreed she would bring another contractor, Jeff Puckett. Barry never provided an explanation why he left early or why he did not pick her up. Morgan stated she later picked up Jeff and drove towards Broomfield. At about 6:09 p.m., Barry called and said he had a family emergency and had to return to Salida. Barry had left tools at the hotel and said he would call her the next day. On May 11, 2020, at about 7 a.m., Barry called Morgan and said that Suzanne was missing and he thought a mountain lion may have attacked her. Morgan explained that Barry was initially crying, but then abruptly shifted to the specifics about the Broomfield job.
What a joker. Did you hear that? Oh my gosh. So he claims that the lion got her, and then he sounds like he's crying, but then he shifts his focus to talking about the Broomfield job. Like, he's such a liar. Sorry, I can't hide the way I feel.
Morgan adamantly denied there was ever any type of sexual relationship between her and Barry. What do you guys think? Do you think there was a relationship between the two of them? I never felt that there was. But I know some had strong feelings about that and did believe so. I sensed when I saw her interview that there was genuine kind of disgust when it was mentioned, I guess the possibility of them having a sexual relationship from the interviewer, which was Lauren Scharf. It just seemed like she was genuinely not interested and kind of grossed out by the concept or the thought of them being intimate in any capacity. Okay, so now going on to Jeffrey Puckett's interview. On May 14th, 2020, investigator Richard Wren interviewed Jeff Puckett. Puckett was one of the workers who was supposed to meet Barry Morphew in Broomfield on May 10th, 2020, to complete a landscape job. Puckett stated he was contacted by Morgan on Sunday, May 10th, to see if he wanted to go to Denver to work on a job for Barry. After being asked by Morgan, Puckett contacted Barry directly. Puckett had no knowledge of the job until he was contacted by Morgan. On Monday, Puckett and Morgan met up with Cassidy Cordova, who was helping them with the job. Now we're getting into Cassidy Cordova's interview. We are now at the top of page 48. On May 14, 2020, investigator Richard Wren interviewed Cassidy Cordova. Cordova advised he had contact with Barry Morphew early on in the week of May 4th, and Barry mentioned that he may need Cordova to help with a job in Denver next week. Barry said that he would get back with Cordova later if he was for sure needed. On May 10th, Cordova had not heard from Barry, so he called him at about 1:45 p.m. to ask about the job. Barry asked Cordova to help with the job since he, Cordova, was already in Colorado Springs. Cordova met the rest of the crew in Denver on Monday morning. Cordova advised he has known Barry for at least 2 years because they worked together at DSI, which is, again, Dieselin. Cordova advised that Cody Cox had an issue with Barry over Barry firing him. Cox had been working for Morphew also. Now we're getting into Cody Cox's interview. On May 14, 2020.
Okay, so let's go like 5 more minutes of this, and then we'll get into the next part so we can, close it out today. And again, you guys can always come back to these videos. They're in my playlist on my channel. So it's totally open for you.
Investigator Richard Wren interviewed Cody Cox. Cox worked with Barry and for Barry's landscape business. Cox and Cordova did a landscape job in Broomfield between August 2019 and December 2019. The general contractor did not like the job, and it had to be repaired several times. After the last attempt to fix the wall, Cox refused to go back to Denver to fix the wall. Barry fired Cox. At the same time, Cox was given the ultimatum to leave DSI or be fired because of a hot urinalysis test. Cox left DSI. Cox advised that this all happened around the end of December 2019, which at this point would have been 5-6 months ago. Cox was asked about the information that he wanted to kick Barry's ass. Cox advised that rumor was started by Jeff Puckett. Cox said that he was not happy about getting fired, but he was not going around saying he wanted to fight Barry. Probably knew better. Cox advised that he had met Suzanne and talked about how she had brought cookies to his kids. He described Suzanne as a very nice lady. He denied having done anything to Suzanne and denied knowing what happened to Suzanne. Cox advised that Barry never talked bad about Barry's relationship with Suzanne. During a subsequent interview on May 22nd, 2020, Cox stated he does not recall ever telling Puckett he wanted to beat up Barry. Now we're getting into the second Sheila Oliver interview. On May 14th, 2020, Sheila Oliver was interviewed by FBI agent William Rowell. Sheila said that she first met Suzanne when they were roommates and students together at Purdue University, West Lafayette, Indiana, about 1990. Suzanne married Barry in August 1994. Both families have children in the same age ranges and have raised their kids closely. About 2 years ago, the Morphew daughters, blank, went to college in Colorado. So that would be Mallory, went to college in Colorado. Western State College in Gunnison. The Morphews then moved to Colorado in 2018. They didn't have their home sold in Indiana before they left. The move seemed to be in a rush. Barry was domineering in the marriage with Suzanne. He would tell her she had to change in order for them to get along. Money was a huge issue. Money was a big issue between them. Barry was very controlling with money. He insisted Suzanne use cash, but he would charge hunting equipment on his credit card, which was probably the Cabela's card that we saw. Just a wild guess. He invested in the silver market, and then it bought him out. Maybe that's what the Monix account was all about. I don't know. Suzanne did not stand up for herself until recently. The marriage had become very rocky by 2018. There was hope a move to Colorado, making a new start would help things. There was never a definite reason for Mallory going to college in Colorado, and the family moving there. Suzanne thought it would be nice for them to live near blank, though. Suzanne came back to visit Sheila twice from Colorado. Once was Thanksgiving 2018, while the Morphews were still trying to sell their house in Indiana. While Suzanne was at the Olivers' house, she had stepped away from her cell phone to use the restroom, and Barry tried calling her several times within a few minutes, then tried calling Sheila, then tried calling Darren. He was persistent and obsessive about knowing where she was, at least when she was with Sheila. The other time was June/July of 2019, when Suzanne returned to Indiana to visit Sheila and then went to Michigan to visit her dad. Barry called Sheila, saying he couldn't get in touch with Suzanne. Suzanne told Sheila this was odd because Barry never bothered to call Suzanne any other times. He was just very persistent in checking up on Suzanne when she was with Sheila. The Olivers' daughter, Hannah, was married on Sunday, May 10, 2020. Hannah was like a daughter to Suzanne. The wedding was originally going to include many people, and Suzanne was going to attend, but due to COVID-19 restrictions, it was limited to immediate family and was live streamed online. Suzanne was going to watch it. She would not have missed it for the world. On Saturday, May 9, 2020, Sheila sent 2 Snapchats to Suzanne in the morning, which were open. Later in the evening, Sheila sent 3 more snaps to Suzanne, which were never open, but were received, as reflected on Sheila's cell phone. Sheila stated, "There is a 0% chance that Suzanne would run off and not at least tell one of her daughters or Sheila. If she had left Barry, she would have contacted one of her daughters or Sheila to let them know what was going on. Suzanne would not commit suicide. Her religious beliefs would not allow her to do this." Sheila said Suzanne suspected Barry had an extramarital affair based on Barry's behavior, which included him turning his phone off at times, not being where he said he would be, always secretive, and not honest with Suzanne. He had to travel back to Hamilton County for some type of legal proceeding at least once, but maybe more. Suzanne had given up asking why because he wouldn't tell her. So he was living his own little private life. As Suzanne's suspicions were aroused over the last few years, she wanted to find out what her husband was up to. She wanted to buy a spy pen to find out what he was doing, but was afraid of Barry's reaction if he found out. Suzanne asked Sheila to buy the pen for her on the internet. Sheila did this and gave the pen to Suzanne while they were on vacation together in Florida a few months ago, around February 2020.
Okay, so that's where we're going to leave the arrest affidavit. Remember, you can always go and listen to it. It's in my playlist. So now I want to talk to you about what happened from the preliminary hearing. Okay, so we're going to rewind in case there's new people in here and they haven't heard this part. So around September 20th, Barry Morphew was released from Chaffee County Jail following a bond his daughter paid, which was $500,000. So the trial at that point was due to start in early May. But like a week before the trial was going to start, Judge Lama granted an 11-page petition to dismiss the charges against Barry due to prosecutors missing deadlines for information about the expert witnesses. And they feel that those witnesses could have helped, give information about like the DNA, and basically prosecution was kind of being dishonest. They weren't handing over the valuable information that defense needed. That could have helped prove, Barry's, quote, innocent, right? There was some DNA, some alternate or extra DNA, maybe we'll say, found in Suzanne's Range Rover that wasn't Barry's and it wasn't Jeff Libler's. It was a partial match, and the DNA was of an unknown man that was sought in connection with S assaults in Chicago and Arizona. Having that evidence could have made for defense, it could have helped them make their case that, Barry was, framed, or, that he wasn't responsible, something like that. The judge ended up sanctioning the prosecution and struck 12 of the 16 expert witnesses. So really, the case that the prosecution thought that they had against Barry that week, before the trial was going to start, it dissolved in just a moment's notice because the judge ended up not allowing 12 of these 16 expert witnesses to be present at the trial and be witnesses. Sorry, that was redundant. Anyway, so this really paralyzed the prosecution. And then the prosecution really, I guess, asked the judge for the case to be dismissed without prejudice, and the judge granted it. Thankfully, due to the case being dismissed without prejudice, charges can be brought again. And you see, when this decision was made, the way the prosecution kind of framed it was that they were going to try to find Suzanne's body, and then they could maybe have like a stronger case. Well, what happened next was in May of 2022, so just very soon after the case was dismissed, Barry files that $15 million lawsuit, and he, I guess, targets the Chaffee County District Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Office, the CBI, and investigators from the FBI. So now I'm going to play for you his daughters when they go on Good Morning America and they talk about their mom and how perfect the relationship was. It's like, yeah, right. Oh, gosh. Okay, here we go.
This morning, demands for justice for Suzanne Morphew, 3 years after the Colorado mom mysteriously vanished on Mother's Day in 2020. Authorities believe she is dead, her body never found, now officially classified a cold case.
Somebody in this community needs to keep her name out there.
Suzanne's husband, Barry, initially charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence, but those charges dropped just before his trial. Now Barry and his daughters Macy and Mallory are speaking exclusively to ABC News, claiming his life has been ruined by false accusations.
What have these last 3 years been like for you?
Very, very sad. Very confusing. Just so traumatic. Like literally our worst nightmare.
Did you have...
Okay, I don't mean to mock them or anything, but I want you to remember back to the arrest affidavit and what kind of stuff Macy was saying about how this was going to be the worst summer of her life, and that she was fearful that they had gotten in some horrible fight, and that this time it would be a really bad one. And see, here she's acting like everything was perfect. Really annoyed.
Anything to do with the disappearance of your wife?
Absolutely not. It's very hurtful to lose your reputation and your integrity.
Barry filing a $15 million civil suit against prosecutors, the sheriff, and several investigators.
So I know that 15 million is a huge number, but I don't think that, in my mind, that covers any of the damage that's happened to Barry and the girls.
They know he's innocent. And if they would just look for Suzanne outside of where they hypothesize Barry could have possibly buried her remains, they could find her.
His daughters standing by him.
You never had a shred of doubt once you heard the evidence from law enforcement against your dad?
I've never had a shred of doubt. Not one.
Prosecutors say at the time they believed that they were close to finding Suzanne's body and dropped those charges against Barry, hoping for additional evidence. Authorities tell ABC News they still believe Barry Morphew could be involved in his wife's disappearance and aren't ruling out future charges.
Law enforcement, the DAs, believed that they had their guy, and they believe that there's a mountain of evidence against you. There's just not Suzanne's body.
They're wrong. They've got tunnel vision, and they looked at one person, and they've got too much pride to say they're wrong and look somewhere else.
These charges were dropped without prejudice, which means if authorities feel like there's more evidence, they could charge you again. Do you live with fear of that?
Well, I was innocent the first time they arrested me, so I'm sure it's possible. But I don't have anything to worry about. I've done nothing wrong.
Was there any indication before she disappeared that something was amiss?
No.
Did you observe any fights, arguments, disagreements between your mom and your dad that concerned you before?
No.
Prosecutors offering texts which appear to show a strained marriage, Suzanne referring to Barry as Jekyll and Hyde, and just before she disappeared telling Barry, "I'm done." Suzanne confiding in a friend, "Macy and I had a very tough talk yesterday. She's weary of the tension here. She knows how he is toward me and almost begged me to divorce him. He's still pulling Mal in." But Barry and his daughters deny the marriage was in trouble.
We had a wonderful life, wonderful marriage. She was just so loving and giving and such a good mother.
Before her disappearance, Suzanne fighting cancer.
And I know that she was going through chemotherapy for the last couple of years before her disappearance. And I know she was going through some hard things and made some bad decisions.
What kind of bad decisions?
She was really having trouble with the chemotherapy and the drugs.
Investigators also say she was involved with someone else.
When you found,
there's a reoccurring theme through that arrest affidavit also, that he's trying to frame Suzanne's disappearance on, first of all, the lion, but also saying that she was into drugs and she was drinking a lot. And it just couldn't be, I think it couldn't be further from the truth. It's really maddening, though, the way he talks about her, disparaging her. And the thing is, she wasn't there to defend herself anymore. It's just not right.
Found out that Suzanne was having an affair. What was your first thought?
My heart was broke. My heart was broken. I didn't believe it.
What's been the hardest part?
Just not having Mom.
Yeah. Not knowing.
It's really difficult, especially because of the lack of closure we have.
And Barry Morphew has moved out of Colorado because he says the public and media scrutiny has been too much on him and his daughters. The Chaffee County Sheriff's Office and DA Linda Stanley both saying they cannot comment on pending litigation or on ongoing investigations. Bottom line here, guys, Suzanne is still missing and no one has been held accountable. So many questions.
All right. So now, that would have been May of 2022. In September, just about, what would it be? About 8 months ago? Is that right? 5, 3? Yeah, probably about 8 months ago, she was found. I'm going to read a little bit about that. Nearly 4 years after she was first reported missing, Morphew's remains were located last fall during a search on September 22nd, 2023 in the area of Moffett in Saguache, hopefully I'm saying that right, Saguache County. Morphew was last seen on Mother's Day nearly 4 years ago. All right, so now I'm going to show you something very interesting. I think it's incredibly interesting. Let me close out of some of this stuff though, real quick. And then we'll go over the autopsy. Okay. All right. So about a week after she was found out in it's called the Boneyard in Saguache County or Moffett, Colorado, there was a really wonderful guy. His name's William. I'm not sure what his last name is, but anyway, he goes by, or he did go by Cold Case Cause, I think. Well, now he's changed his name to AWOL Without a Cause. And he is a YouTuber. He went out to the Boneyard where Suzanne was found. And in that area, he found some very interesting stuff. I'm going to play his video right now. And also, I'm going to put his link in the chat. And if the mods could, continue to show that link if possible, that'd be great, just so everybody has it. because he's a wonderful guy, and really, I'd say what he does, he gives with his whole heart. Like he's very much a genuine person, and I have a lot of respect for him. He didn't do this for attention. Okay, let's watch this video.
Hey guys, we're here at the Suzanne Morphew remains area. She was found right here in this grave. You can see where the bobcat has cleared the land and put it back. It's a very somber feeling right now. Also wanted to show you they have this spot over here marked. We're not going to trample over it or anything like that. But this is the actual, looks like some more remains were found there. But the dogs, I'm trying to keep the dogs away from it. Zuma, go, come on, Zuma. Hey, come on, let's go, come on. But I just wanted to show you all the actual site. I got the old girl over there. Kaga, come on. So you could see literally right there is Highway 17. He just whoever did it pulled in right here and came and dug this shallow grave. Come on, girls, come on, let's go. So, but you're not going to believe this. I think I found, so this was a hole dug and covered up. And also over here was a hole dug and covered up. But guys, I think I found a bloody sheet or bloody rag. It looks a lot like blood. I don't know if there was a sheet involved in any of these remains, but I'm gonna go over here and show you all that.
Now remember, in the arrest affidavit we were just going over, I think it was in my last live stream, so it would have been part 3. The beginning of the investigation was talked about, right? When Mallory's sheets were discussed in there, and that Mallory had blue sheets. Well, this is so crazy, but this wonderful guy, William, he found a sheet out there. It's like a square of a very weathered sheet. You're going to see here in just a second, but it goes right back to the arrest affidavit, in my opinion. And this is not confirmed. This is purely speculation, guys, but just watch it. It's interesting.
I wanted to say apologize for the shaky and crappy service videos last night. I'm not going live anymore in the boondocks. So that was Suzanne Morphew's remains, and this rag looks like it's pulling around in the wind over here. Come on, kids. Come on, yeah. Good boy. Yeah. Come on. Here's that creepy trailer I was telling y'all about. Looks like he was out of Breaking Bad.
This is another really important thing that goes back to Donna's read, guys. She talked about this this very bizarre looking tree. It was in her very first reading, I think. And lo and behold, there's this bizarre tree, and it is the only tree that's out there in the Boneyard area. I just thought that was so crazy. In fact, people who will not even talk about psychics will even give Donna credit for that she was right about the tree, the very strange looking tree. By the way, I need to say hi to Zav Girl. Hi, Zav Girl. It's so good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Okay, let's carry on.
Out of Breaking Bad. But I'm definitely going to document this and report it to the authorities because, man, to me, it looks like part of a sheet that's got dried up blood on it. But I'm going to show y'all and see what you think. But I might have to call the law enforcement and see what they think about this. So I don't know if y'all saw in the videos yesterday, I said, is that a floral pattern? Well, sorry about the wind. Wind gust. Nipsey go, Nipsey go. But look at this, y'all. Look, is that blood? It appears to be a sheet. Looks like possible poke marks in it.
Does anybody see that that could resemble a light blue colored sheet? Because I see it, but I don't know if my mind's playing tricks on me. Very interesting, right?
But man, that looks like dried up blood to me. I mean, it could be oil like for a dipstick or... But this rag was clumped together right there last night. I never touched it. And it's since dried because it rained last night and it's blown over here. But this is the Boneyard. So, I mean, this is the Boneyard, this area here, what they dubbed the Boneyard. So, it's wild. But I'm definitely going to not touch anything I don't disturb or touch or anything anymore. I've learned my lesson on that. So, but we're definitely going to report this. It looks like a bed sheet, y'all. And you know how many folks get wrapped up in bed sheets when they're disposed of. This is my old girl Kaga right here. She's 15 years old, and I know what y'all gonna say she looks real skinny, but I feed her 2 cans of wet food a day. She gets pampered, and I just gave him half a chicken breast. But this is the Boneyard. Sorry for the wind, I'm trying to block it. And Suzanne Morphew's remains were right there. We got a possible bloody rag. I could be totally wrong. It could just be like oil rag, but given its proximity and where it's at, definitely should be documented and tested.
Okay, guys, I need to find one thing for you real quick because I don't think it's included on this video. So if you can stand by, I also might need to be answering my door. So I'm going to mute out for just a second. If you could talk amongst yourselves, that'd be awesome. Thanks. Okay, false alarm on my door, but it could happen because we're expecting a delivery. Well, my husband is actually, but okay, we're going to play this now. This is crazy.
Live real quick. Read an article, and I'm sure y'all have read it, about the live 22 caliber round that was found next to Suzanne Morphew's bed. And it made the hair on my neck stand up because the revolver we found was a 22 caliber revolver. I mean, that's pretty compelling. I mean, what are the chances? Y'all haven't been able to sleep at night thinking that this, I mean, what if, guys? What if that's the revolver that was used? Let me know what you guys think over there. You armchair detectives and shoestring detectives. into firearms, so I don't. Found a gun in the Boneyard in Moffett, Colorado, in the Suzanne Morphew remains site. This is the Boneyard. This is what the CBI, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, has dubbed the Boneyard, this area here. It's a dumping ground for a supposed serial killer. Down there at the stop sign, just to the left, right before it on the left, is where Suzanne Morphew's remains were located.
Real quick, I need to tell you also, I did a video, Naomi and I did a video along with this guy, William, right here that you're watching. The live stream, I think it was back in maybe September or October. You can always go watch that today. It's in my, I think in my uploads. Anyway, we'll carry on.
And guys, look, we're like 500 yards up the road, maybe a little more. And y'all, I found a freaking gun. I was clearing this area. I found bones out here. But look, y'all, that's a freaking gun. I'm not touching anything. I'm not disturbing anything. It's a firearm, y'all, right off the main road. Look, there's the road. Firearm. Looks like possibly a Ruger. Revolver.
I felt so bad because when this guy, William, found this gun, he got hell from so many people telling him that he planted it, that he was just making up stuff. It was really not nice at all. I want to tell you real quick, there was, and it's going to come out in the autopsy, which I'll go over here in a minute, that there was actually a gun, a weathered bullet, not gun, but a bullet found next to Suzanne Morphew's remains. Another thing is, I talked to Andy Mormon the other day, Suzanne's brother, and I called him to tell him about the fact that there was this guy, you know, that went out to the Boneyard and he found what seems like a gun and a little bit of a sheet. And he said that the FBI had actually contacted him to tell him about this. That would make me believe that there might be more to this, and that maybe this evidence here, or that what we're seeing right here, could be potentially, you know, damning evidence against Barry. That's my speculation. That's not a fact. That's just speculation. But it was kind of hopeful hearing that Andy had been informed already from the FBI. It was like, wow, okay.
It's got a T and a triangle. I'm not into firearms, so I don't know what brand or make that is, but that is a real firearm. That is a pistol. Holy moly. So I found bones I marked that are right out in this area. Some peculiar bones. Suzanne Morphew's remains are located just down here, and y'all, my hair is standing up on freaking end right now. My adrenaline's pumping. We might have just found a murder weapon out here in the Boneyard in Moffett, Colorado. This is insane. I've never found a gun, especially a pistol.
What's crazy is he describes that he was just walking, I guess, by that area, and it was like the sun just shined down on this gun and it caught his gaze. And I thought to myself, that would be Suzanne picking just the right person to find this gun, if this is of relevance, right? Because he's a really nice person, and I believe his heart is truly in it for the right reasons.
So what I'm going to do is there's a beer can too. We got to call the authorities and report this for sure. So I've also found what I believe to be a rag, possible sheet that appears to be bloody. So we're going to report that to law enforcement. I'm going to do a quick video about that. But guys, this is sure enough a gun found in the Boneyard. Holy moly. Try not to break any branches or disturb anything, but That looks like a discarded firearm thrown from a vehicle or possibly tucked under that wood. Unreal. This place is freaky, y'all. But you can see the mountain peaks. But you're not going to want to miss. I'm going to be recording. See what happens with law enforcement. With this firearm, I got to report it. So stay tuned. I got to make some more videos and call the law enforcement. So please like and subscribe. It's the only thing that gets me going. But we just found a gun in the Boneyard here in Moffett, Colorado. Unbelievable. So thanks. Stay tuned. I'll be in touch directly.
Okay, I just had to answer my door. I'm back. All right, now let's go over. By the way, what'd you guys think of that? That's kind of interesting, right? It's going to be really wild if this was something of significance. Okay, let's go over the autopsy. Make sure you can see it. Okay. I may have to zoom in a little bit more. Okay, we're going to go through this. All right, so Suzanne Morphew's autopsy. Here we go. Final diagnosis, homicide by unspecified means in the setting of butorphanol, azaparone, and metatomidine intoxication, which basically means BAM, which basically means tranquilizer, animal tranquilizer. Reported history, so A, reported history of recovery of a partial skeleton, medical port, which was for her chemo, by the way, and clothing scattered in and around a shallow grave in Saguache County. B, positive dental identification at time of autopsy examination. C, reported history, decedent was reported missing in Chaffee County, May 10th, 2020, and her bicycle and helmet were discovered without significant damage in separate locations within the county. D, no indication of perimortem trauma. I'm trying to remember if perimortem means before death. I think it means before death. Yeah. Postmortem toxicology of femoral trabecular bone identified. So that means her femur bone. Identified butorphanol metabolites, azaparone, and metadetamin. I said that so wrong. Positive DNA identification, right and left femurs. So it was in both her right and left femurs. What do you think? Does that suggest maybe that she was alive a little bit longer, but maybe paralyzed from this tranquilizer? The fact that it was in her bones, I mean, I don't know if I have any people with significant, medical knowledge and stuff like that in here, but would that be normal that it would already be in her bones if she was deceased following the injection? See, that's what I wonder. It's very weird. Okay, clinical history. Decedent was receiving maintenance, reduxan chemotherapy after complete remission of recurrent follicular lymphoma. Opinion. Based upon the information provided to me at the time of this report, it is my opinion that Suzanne Morphew, a 52-year-old adult, white female, died as a result of homicide by unspecified means in the setting of butorphanol, azaparone, and metadetamin intoxication. These drugs are marketed as a compound injectable chemical immobilizer for wildlife. The tranquilizer was intended for big game, it sounds like, or for bears, not a 100-pound, 5 foot, what was she, 5'2" or 5'3", I can't remember, woman. So I can't even imagine. This would have taken her out, I think, instantly. Just knocked her right out. Okay, it says, okay, the drugs are marketed as a compound injectable chemical immobilizer for wildlife, providing pharmacologically reversible analgesia, and analgesia, which is, I think, basically means anti-pain, right? Sedation and immobilization. If more information becomes available, this report may be amended. Manner of death, homicide. Okay, it's kind of in reverse order. Hold on. Okay, we'll go back. All right. Persons present at autopsy. Robin Burgess and Alex Walker of the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office. Daniel Garcia, Tanya Atkinson, and Jody Wright of the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. Ken Harris of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Carla Barrios of the Saguache County Sheriff's Office. Sam Kaufman of the 12th Judicial District Attorney's Office, and Chaffee County Coroner Jeff Graff are present during the postmortem examination. Forensic odontologist, which basically means a forensic kind of dentist, they study the teeth, which is how they would verify that she is Suzanne Morphew. Kim Look, DDS, ABFO, is present during autopsy examination to perform dental identification. General examination. The decedent is initially identified as Jane Doe. Submitted for examination are 3 large paper bags containing bones, 7 brown paper bags containing clothing, and 7 envelopes containing items to be described. The submitted items are radiographed. The skeletal external examination. The skeletal remains are submitted in 3 bags labeled Jane Doe R and 17 Saguache County Day 1, Jane Doe R and 17 Saguache County Day 1 School, Jane Doe R and 17 Saguache County Day 2 and 3. The 3 bags contain multiple excuse me. The 3 bags contain multiple human and non-human bones and fragments, dirt, and a wood fragment. The submitted human bones include the skull and mandible, sacrum, multiple ribs, bilateral radii, and ulnae, which is what, her wrist, I think. Manubrium and sternum, which is her chest, right scapula, clavicle, right and left femora, right and left tibiae, which is her part of her legs, fibula, and multiple vertebrae. None of the bones bear any residual soft tissue. So she was just bones at this point. Bones, a port, and that was almost it, The right femoral head, femur fragment and femur head, is retained for toxicology testing prior to release for forensic anthropology examination. Submitted is an envelope labeled purple medical device, grave. The envelope contains a dirt-covered purple medical port labeled 6328. 7 brown paper bags remain in the custody of CBI and contain a pale pattern balaclava, which I believe is a face covering, if I'm not mistaken. A pink and light color leather work glove. Guys, this is kind of sketchy to me. And Donna actually did a really good video about it recently, that, this could have been a female's, articles, if we want to call it that, like somebody who maybe assisted. I know that's wild speculation, but could these have been the things of somebody who assisted with, the getting rid of part? Because there's this random glove in the mix, right? And this random head covering. It's very strange. And light colored leather work glove and, a light color partial padded bra, a ripped dark blue gray hooded sweatshirt labeled Crested Butte, a torn green Nike tank top, Yeti shorts, and a fabric frag. Oh my gosh. I didn't see this yet, guys. A fabric fragment. Do you guys think that's part of the sheet? That could be huge. The clothing and fabric fragment are all weathered and covered in dirt. Why do I feel like that's going to be part of what William found? Again, that's wild speculation. I'm just saying, that's crazy. All paper, is that where it leaves it? Hold on. Oh, no. All paper bags were labeled respective to their contents. 6 envelopes remain in the custody of CBI, contain 5 fabric fragments and 1 weathered bullet. Now, if that bullet is a .22 bullet, then I'm really going to think that this is a big deal. Okay, 1 weathered bullet and are labeled as such. Evidence. The medical device is released to Chaffee County Sheriff's Office on 9/27/2023. A disc of 2 x-rays is released to Dr. Kim Look on September 28, 2023. TA-11 possible bones and TA-12 bones are received on 9/29/2023 from CBI to be included with the collection of skeletal remains subsequently released to Dr. Diane France. After receipt of the remains back to El Paso County Coroner's Office, these packages appear to have contained probable rocks. 3 teeth are released to CBI on October 3rd, 2023 for DNA testing. The skeletal remains are released to Dr. Diane France for forensic anthropology examination on October 3rd, 2023, and returned to El Paso County Coroner's Office on December 27th, 2023. 1 paper bag containing 4 packets botany/bug and 2 packets from Hoodie are received on January 16, 2024 from Diane France. Wonder what the 4 packets botany/bug means. Could that be perhaps those people that study, oh, what are they called? Hold on, there's a word for them and it's not coming to me, but basically they study the insects and how the life of the insect is, and they base how long the body's been out there on the insects. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a name for those people and I can't remember what they're called. Okay, on January 17, 2024, the femurs are sectioned at the proximal and distal metaphysis for toxicology, and DNA samples: right femur proximal, right femur distal, left femur proximal, left femur distal. Distal femurs, right femur distal, left femur distal, are released to CBI on January 22nd, 2024 for DNA testing, returned to El Paso County Coroner's Office on April 3rd, 2024, and re-released to CBI on April 5th, 2024. And it's official. Yes, entomologist. Thank you, Skyvy. Thank you for remembering that. I couldn't remember the name. Anyway, guys, that concludes our synopsis, our, I guess, going back into time and going over the case all over again series of Suzanne Morphew's case. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you found value in it. If you can share it, that's even better. You know, I know it can help people who might not really know too much about this case. I know there's a number of people that believe, you know, that Barry was framed, that he didn't do this. But if you study like we've been doing lately with the arrest affidavit, and you know a little bit more of the history and who he was borrowing money from and the financial stuff and the text message, it starts to paint this picture, you know, that Suzanne didn't do any of this to herself, that nobody else had skin in the game to want to unalive her, right? Barry was the only one with an interest that stood to gain if something happened to her, right? You saw in the sale of the home, which Naomi was saying there was already a rental contract. So they knew when that home was going to close that it was going to be in June of 2020. They both knew that. So it's very convenient that she disappears a month before, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to press that like button. Thanks again. Thank you, Skyby, for everything. Thank you so much for the super chats, the memberships. Thank you, Mrs. B. The mods, awesome job. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Lots of love to you and yours. And by the way, be thinking of what case you want me to do next. If you want to study another one, we go back in time, I'm open to it. Let's do it again. If you want to do Summer Wells, or, I mean, we could even kind of go over Sebastian Rogers. I'm open to it. Just let me know in the comments. I'll talk to you guys later. Lots of love to you and yours. Bye, guys.